Eleanor's hands trembled as she scraped dried plaster from the cabin wall, but not from weakness, from rage. 73 years of living, and her daughter couldn't spare one Sunday to help them move. Not one. The plaster dust settled on her worn Huey pill like early snow, and she thought of Gabriella's pristine apartment in Monterey, all glass and chrome and emptiness. Cuidado, vieja! Tomas called from the doorway where he wrestled a warped wooden beam. His voice carried the same gentleness it had 50 years ago when they'd married in the church that no longer existed. That wall looks ready to fall. Let it fall, Elena muttered, but she stepped back anyway. The cabin, if you could call this collection of rotting timber and shattered dreams a cabin, had been abandoned for 20 years. According to Don Chuy at the Ejido office, an American couple had built it as a retirement fantasy, then returned home after one brutal winter. Now its bones jutted from the mountainside like accusations. The children had made their positions clear. Gabriella, the eldest, had said it over video call, her face pixelated, but her contempt crystal. "You're being ridiculous. There's a perfectly good retirement home in Saltillo." Ricardo, the middle child, hadn't even bothered to call. Just sent a text, "Can't support this, sorry." And Miguel, her baby, now 42 with his own teenagers, had come to their house in San Miguel de Allende with papers for them to sign, power of attorney, so he could help manage their affairs. Tomas had torn the papers in half. 3 days later, they'd loaded their ancient pickup with everything they owned and driven 8 hours into the Sierra Madre Oriental, to this ruin on land Tomas's grandfather had left him, land the children had forgotten existed. "I found the well," Tomas said, appearing beside her with that quiet satisfaction he got from solving problems. His calloused hand touched her shoulder. "Water's still good, cold as a priest's blessing." Elena let herself lean into him for just a moment, breathing in his smell of earth and wood smoke and Old Spice he'd worn since 1974. Then she pulled away and attacked the wall with renewed vigor. The first week, they slept in the truck bed beneath a tarp that leaked. Elena woke each dawn with her joints screaming, Tomas's back so stiff he could barely stand. But by the second week, they'd cleared enough debris to spread their sleeping bags on actual floor. By the third, Tomas had patched the roof with salvaged tin and ingenuity. "Your father would laugh at this," Elena said one evening. Watching Thomas hammer with nails he'd straightened from the original construction. "Remember what he said at our wedding? That boy couldn't build a chicken coop." "My father," Tomas replied without looking up, "died angry at everyone, including himself. I won't." The words hung between them like the dust motes in the fading light. Neighbors arrived on the 4th week, not to help, but to judge. Doña Socorro from the nearest ranch, 3 kilometers down the mountain, climbed up with her daughter-in-law, Rosa. They stood at the clearing's edge, whispering behind their hands like girls at mass. Elena met them with coffee she'd made on their camping stove, served in chipped mugs they'd salvaged from the cabin's ruins. "Buenos dias. Come see what we've done." Doña Socorro's eyes traveled over the patched roof, the cleared windows, the small garden plot Tomas had already turned. "Your children know you're up here?" "Our children," Elena said carefully, "know exactly where we are. But to leave you like this, they didn't leave us. We left them." Elena smiled, and it felt like the first genuine smile in years. "There's a difference." Rosa touched a wooden wind chime Tomas had carved from fallen branches. It sang softly in the mountain breeze. "It's beautiful," she said quietly. "What you're making here." After they left, Elena found a basket of fresh tortillas and eggs by the cabin door. The transformation happened slowly, like healing. Tomas rebuilt the porch where the American couple had apparently planned to watch sunsets. Elena planted seeds she'd brought from their old garden, tomatoes, cilantro, her mother's roses that had survived 3 generations. The first tender shoots emerged like prayers answered. In town, such as it was, 12 houses and a tienda, people began to nod. The man at the hardware store, who'd looked at them with pity that first month, now saved them his damaged goods. Dented paint cans, cracked tiles, wood with knots. "Can't sell these anyway," he'd say, refusing payment until Tomas started repairing his shelves in trade. "We're becoming the crazy old people on the mountain," Elena said one evening, watching the sunset paint the valley gold and crimson. "Better than the discarded old people in the home," Tomas replied. They'd been there 3 months when Miguel appeared. Elena was weeding the garden when she heard the car engine laboring up the dirt road. She knew it was him before he rounded the final curve. Her youngest always drove too fast, even on mountain roads. She stood slowly, her hands muddy, and waited. Miguel got out of his new SUV looking exhausted. His suit jacket was draped over the passenger seat, his tie loosened. He stared at the cabin, no longer ruined, now simply rustic, with an expression Elena couldn't read. "Mama," he said finally. "Mijo." She didn't move toward him. They stood there, 15 meters apart, the garden between them like a moat. "You look good," Miguel said, and he sounded surprised. "Better than... Both of you look good." Tomas emerged from the cabin, carrying a clay pot he'd been sealing with pitch. He saw Miguel and nodded once, then returned to his work. "I came to apologize," Miguel said. "We all should apologize. Gabby's too proud, and Ricardo. Rico doesn't know how to say he's wrong about anything. But I'm sorry. For the papers. For not understanding." Eleanor's hands clenched in her apron. "You thought we were senile." "Yes." He had the grace to meet her eyes. "Confused. Making a mistake that would leave you. We thought you'd freeze up here, get sick, die alone, and instead..." Miguel looked around, the garden flourishing, the cabin glowing in the evening light, the wind chimes singing, the small chicken coop Tomas had built from scrap wood, the solar panel they'd bartered for by mending fences for the rancher down the valley. His eyes were wet when he looked back at her. "Instead you built paradise." "It's not paradise," Elena said. "The roof still leaks in heavy rain. The stove barely works. We eat beans and rice most nights. My back hurts every morning." She paused. "But it's ours. We chose it. We built it. And nobody can take that from us. I know." Miguel wiped his face. "Can I see inside?" Elena nodded. The cabin was small, one main room divided by a curtain, an alcove kitchen, a bathroom that Tomas had gotten functioning through sheer stubborn genius. But every surface held something beautiful. Smooth river stones arranged on the windowsill, dried flowers hanging from the beams, a table Tomas had built from fallen oak, 2 chairs they'd rescued and restored. On the wall hung one photograph, their wedding day 50 years ago, both of them impossibly young. "How did you know?" Miguel asked. "That you could do this?" "We didn't," Tomas said, speaking for the first time. We just knew we couldn't let them put us away like broken furniture. Miguel sat at the table, his father's work, and put his head in his hands. We thought we were helping, protecting you. Protecting yourselves, Elena corrected, not unkindly. From worry, from responsibility, from seeing us get old. She sat across from him. Mijo, you can't stop us from getting old, but you can stop treating us like we're already dead. They fed him dinner. Beans, rice, eggs from their chickens, tortillas from Doña Socorro, tomatoes from Elena's garden. Miguel ate like he was starving, though Elena knew he probably had reservations at expensive restaurants every week. Will you tell your sister and brother? Elena asked as he prepared to leave. Yes. He stood by his SUV, keys in hand. They need to see this. What you've done. What they almost destroyed. We would have done this anyway, Tomas said. With or without their blessing. I know. Miguel hugged his father, a long embrace that smelled of expensive cologne and mountain air. Then he hugged Elena, and she felt him shaking. I'm proud of you. Both of you. I should have said that first. After he left, Elena and Tomas sat on their porch, watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. The valley below was a sea of shadows, and lights from distant ranches flickered like earthbound constellations. Do you think the others will come? Elena asked. Eventually. Tomas took her hand. When they're ready to see us as we are, not as they remember. And if they never come, then we'll keep building anyway. 6 months later, the cabin had become something unexpected, a gathering place. It started with Rosa bringing her mother-in-law for coffee. Doña Socorro had admitted she was lonely in her big ranch house, her own children scattered to Monterrey and beyond. Then came the family from the next valley over, Eduardo and his wife Carmen, whose children video-called from Texas but never visited. They sat on Elena's porch and drank coffee and spoke of what it meant to be left behind by a world that worshipped youth and mobility. Someone, Eduardo, probably started calling it El Refugio, the refuge. We should hate that name, Elena said to Tomas one evening after their guests had left. Why? He was carving another wind chime, his knife moving with practiced ease. It's what we've made, a refuge from children who think they know better, a refuge from being invisible. By year's end, 5 other elderly couples had bought or claimed nearby land. The path to the cabin, once barely a trail, became a road maintained by collective effort. Someone brought a generator. Someone else brought solar panels. A young couple from the city, tired of the rat race, bought land below them and opened a small cafe serving city people who'd heard about the old folks reclaiming the mountain. Gabriela came in spring. She arrived unannounced, driving a rental car up the now-maintained road. Elena saw her through the kitchen window and felt something crack in her chest, not breaking, but opening. Her daughter had aged. Gray threaded through her black hair. Lines bracketed her mouth. She stood by her car, staring at the cabin with its garden, its solar panels, its beauty, and she looked lost. Elena went to her. They didn't embrace immediately. They stood, mother and daughter, separated by pride and hurt and a year of silence. I was wrong, Gabriela said. About everything. Yes. You weren't being ridiculous or stubborn. You were being brave. Yes. And I was being... Gabriela's voice broke. I was treating you like a problem to be solved instead of people with your own lives. Your own dreams. Elena took her daughter's hand. The manicured nails, the soft skin. This was her baby, grown into a woman who'd forgotten that her mother had dreams too. "Come inside," Eleanor said. "Meet the person I became when nobody was watching." They sat on the porch with coffee, and Elena told her everything. The first terrible weeks, the small victories, the community that had grown like her garden from bare earth. Thomas joined them, and Gabriella cried when she saw what her father had built with his own aging hands. "I want to help," Gabriella said finally. "Not take over, not manage, just help, if you'll let me." "We have chickens that need a new coop," Thomas said. "The old one is falling apart." Gabriella laughed through her tears. "I don't know how to build a chicken coop." "Neither did I," Thomas replied. 6 months ago. They worked together that week, 3 generations of stubbornness learning to bend. Gabriella got blisters. She complained about the altitude. She looked at her phone compulsively for the first 2 days, then less on the 3rd, and by the 4th, she left it inside while she helped her father frame the coop walls. On her last evening, she sat with Eleanor watching the sunset that had become ritual. "Do you forgive me?" Gabriella asked. "I already had," Elena said. "The day you walked up that path. The question is, do you forgive yourself?" Gabriella didn't answer immediately. Below them, lights were beginning to glow in the valley. The refuge and its satellite homes, each one a declaration of dignity, each one saying, "We're still here. We still matter. We still build." "I'm working on it," Gabriella said finally. "Good." Eleanor squeezed her hand. "That's all any of us can do." 2 years after they'd arrived with nothing but anger and determination, Eleanor and Thomas sat on their porch, expanded now, with proper chairs and a table Gabriella had helped build, and watched Miguel and Ricardo argue good-naturedly about the best way to install the new water system for the community. All 3 children were there, along with 4 grandchildren who'd never really known their abuelos until now. The youngest, Sophia, was learning to milk their goat. The oldest, Daniel, was helping Thomas repair a neighbor's roof. "It's not paradise," Elena said to Thomas, echoing her words to Miguel so long ago. "No," Thomas agreed. "It's better, because it's real, because we earned it." He took her hand, still calloused, still strong despite the arthritis. "Every nail, every seed, every person who comes here looking for what we found." In the garden, her mother's roses bloomed blood-red against the mountain sky. The cabin walls, once grey with neglect, now glowed honey gold in the evening light. Wind chimes sang their wooden songs. Chickens murmured in their coop. The solar panels hummed their quiet efficiency, and inside, in a place that had been ruins, 3 generations gathered around a table for dinner, not perfect, not always easy, but together. Elena looked at the photograph on the wall, 50 years ago. 2 people impossibly young, and then at Thomas beside her. Impossibly still here, still building, still dreaming. "What would you tell them?" Thomas asked, following her gaze. "Those children in the photograph. What would you say if you could?" Elena thought about the years ahead, the struggle, the children, the slow forgetting of who they were beneath their roles as parents, workers, caretakers. The moment when their children would look at them and see only burden. The choice they would have to make, accept that definition, or walk away from everything to remember themselves. "I'd tell them," Elena said slowly, "that getting old doesn't mean disappearing. That sometimes you have to abandon the life others want for you to build the one you need. That ruins can become paradise if you're willing to do the work." She paused. and that it's never too late to be brave. Through the window, she could hear Gabriela laughing at something Miguel said. Could see Ricardo helping Sofia with the goat. Could smell the mole Carmen was teaching her grandchildren to make. Not paradise, not perfect, but theirs, built from nothing, transformed from abandonment. Proof that old hands could still create beauty, that discarded hearts could still beat with purpose, that the final chapters could be the ones you wrote yourself. Tomás raised his glass of water from their well, cold as a priest's blessing, sweet as redemption. To ruins, he said. To paradise, Elena replied. To the difference, they said together, and drank deeply from the life they'd built stone by stone, choice by choice, sunrise by mountain sunrise, in the land of silence that had learned to sing.